Tyler said something he wasn't supposed to say. It was during 7th period. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like insects that had lost their wings. And the hallway outside room 218 smelled like burned pencil shavings and metal lockers baking in August heat. You weren't in the room, but you feel like you were because this part never made it into the official report. You're not holding a memory, you're holding something heavier. A moment no one else will admit happened. Tyler looked over. His shoulders low, mechanical, like his body suddenly wasn't his hand. He whispered to Sarah, the girl they called Crutches. He didn't say it aloud, no one else caught it. But those sitting near them said she froze, completely, like she'd been unplugged from the world. And then Tyler got up, quiet, calm, and walked into the janitor's closet next to the vending machines. He never came out. That closet was opened 14 seconds later. By a teacher, by a custodian, by a police officer. Doesn't matter. Every report says the same thing. Empty. No trapdoor, no crawl space, no footage. The lights inside weren't even flickering. Tyler just wasn't anymore, and that's not the strangest part. It's what Sarah did next. See, you've been shown her picture before. Or maybe you scrolled past her without realizing. Just another viral video where a girl with leg braces falls trying to pick up her books while some teenage punks laugh in the background. 1,000 comments. None of them knew what happened the day after Tyler vanished. None of them knew what she was really doing when she fell, or why her eyes weren't pleading. They were calculating. You're probably wondering why no one told you this, why it never made the news. You'll tell yourself it's all made up. That's how the mind protects itself. But someone has to say it now, because 3 days ago, another student disappeared, this time in broad daylight, just after whispering to Sarah in the middle of the cafeteria. She didn't speak a word, just closed her eyes, turned her palms downward, and smiled, a little too calm, like she already knew, and the cameras cut out. Everything after that is redacted. Except one thing, a single voice, raspy, warped, unmistakably human, leaked through the school's loudspeaker for 2 seconds before the system crashed. Maintenance swore it wasn't wired to anything. The voice said, a name, not Sarah's, not the missing kid's, but someone who died in 1993, and it's the same name. The baby whispered in the hospital across town last night, the same name showing up in call logs that were never dialed. If you hear it next, it's already too late, but if you don't, then ask yourself one question. Asterisk, asterisk, why is she only targeting the ones who laughed? Asterisk, asterisk, and why is your name in her notebook now? They say the human mind can only survive so much contradiction before it begins to split. That there's a threshold, somewhere between what you can prove and what you feel crawling under your skin, where logic simply gives up. That moment came 3 days after Tyler vanished, when Sarah's name appeared again. A police file from 1997. Same spelling, same last name, same face. That's when you started checking TIMESTAMPS. The video from the hallway, the one that showed Tyler walking calmly toward the janitor's closet, glitches at frame 2743. Barely a flicker, a brief shift in color temperature. The shadows on the floor go soft, then hard, then soft again. His reflection in the trophy case disappears for a single frame. You might have missed it if you weren't scrubbing the footage frame by frame at 3:11 a.m., too scared to sleep. But here's the part that breaks you. In that missing reflection, Sarah is standing behind him, not next to him, like in the real footage. Not in her seat, standing upright, no braces. When you rewind, it's gone. When you play forward, it reappears. But never at the same frame, it shifts. It's like the footage knows it's being watched. You start hearing things then. Not voices exactly, but wrongness in the audio. Room tone that doesn't match. The faint echo of Crutches on tile in the background of phone calls that never took place at school. Your best friend plays a voicemail from you, but your voice is trembling, and you don't remember leaving it. The date says last Friday. But Friday, you were with your mom. You were at the hospital. She was dying. But the nurse says you never showed. You start looking for proof you exist. Text threads, old photos, every one of them. Incomplete. A birthday post from 2018 shows your name but no image. A group picture from prom cuts off your face in a clean vertical blur. No one tagged you. No one remembers who held the camera. You're not vanishing. You're being edited. That's when Nora shows up. She says she was in the room when Tyler whispered to Sarah. She says she saw his eyes turn completely black, but not like a horror movie. Not like demons or monsters. She said it looked like he drowned. Like something inside him had been pulled under the surface. Nora's the kind of girl who chews on her hoodie strings and flicks her nails against the desk until they bleed. No one believes her because she talks too fast, stares too long, and never answers questions the same way twice. You don't trust her, but she knows things you haven't told anyone. She describes the notebooks you found in the supply closet. The ones filled with hand-drawn diagrams and twisted timelines written in your handwriting, but signed with Sarah's name. She talks about the strange smell of chalk dust and ammonia that follows you. Even when you haven't been near a classroom in days. And then she says something that makes your stomach freeze in place. Greater than you ever notice how no one's seen her legs lately. You hadn't. Nora says there's a file in the counselor's office. A restricted one. She says she only saw it because the drawer was already open, like someone wanted her to. Inside, there's a single Polaroid. A younger Sarah, no braces, standing in the middle of the gym in a strange martial stance. Not just balanced, floating. You don't believe her. You don't want to. But then she pulls it out. The photo, torn on the edges. Old reel. You recognize the gym floor. Do you recognize the timestamp in the corner, March 12, 2004? But Sarah is 12 years old, and she hasn't aged a day since. You ask if it's some kind of trick. Nora doesn't laugh. She says the trick is thinking time moves. The same for everyone. The trick is believing memory belongs to you. You tell her to stop. You tell her it's trauma, that none of this is real, that maybe Tyler snapped. Maybe you're snapping. But she just looks at you and says, then why did you write, I remember her differently on your bathroom mirror? You did. And now, no matter how many times you wipe it off, the words reappear. In condensation. In pencil shavings. In the thin frost inside your freezer. And that night, your phone rings again. Unknown caller. You let it go to voicemail. But the transcript just reads, asterisk, asterisk, you laughed. Asterisk, asterisk, no voice. Just those words. The next morning, you hear about Jordan gone, just like Tyler. Last seen near the field behind the gym. Grass undisturbed. Shoes left behind. And when the school counselor opens his office that afternoon, every file is missing. Except yours. The top page is a printed email. One you never wrote. It says, asterisk, she's not disabled. She's disguised. Asterisk, and, at the bottom, there's an attachment. A 6-second audio clip. You press play. The lights flicker. You check your reflection, and behind you someone is standing. But no one is there when you turn. Not anymore. It started with the folder manila, creased at the corners, tucked inside a drawer that shouldn't have opened. Ms. Caro's office was locked, always had been. You weren't supposed to be there. Not at that hour. Not after what happened to Jordan. Not with half the school cordoned off by police tape and a heavy air of we're handling it that never truly meant anything. But the fire alarm had triggered on its own again, and in the chaos of smoke drills and false urgency, the door gave way like it was waiting for you. Inside, nothing was out of place. Plastic plants, a mug with the word hope scrawled across it in a chipped cursive font, wall posters about anxiety, resilience, emotional breathing, everything arranged to look safe. Manufactured.com. But your eyes went straight to the file cabinet. Drawer 2. The only one that clicked open when you pulled, and there it was. The folder. Labeled subject, SC alternate file. Inside, a photo you hadn't seen before, but somehow recognized, a classroom, really 2000s, grainy lighting, warped colors, children sitting at their desks, all smiling at something off-screen, and in the back row, between two empty chairs, asterisk, asterisk, shadow, asterisk, asterisk, not a person, not a trick of the lens, just an absence. Something erased in human shape. And next to it Sarah, but not as you remember her. This girl had no braces. She wasn't slumped, she wasn't small. Her expression was unreadable, neutral, almost curious. Like she was watching something no one else could see, or listening to something that hadn't yet arrived. At the bottom of the photo, greater than incident class, eco-cycle 3, do not replicate conditions. You blinked. Something familiar brushed the edge of your memory, like a word you almost remember when waking from a dream. Cycle 3. That's when it started unraveling. There's a whisper. Not quite English, not quite a voice. A name, yours, then, static, then a second voice. Asterisk Sarah's. Asterisk, greater than you remember me now. You found more scattered papers, recordings with no stops, redacted notes addressed to Internal Psychological Advisory Unit. Everything pointed to one conclusion. Sarah wasn't new. She hadn't moved here from anywhere. She hadn't been enrolled. She had returned. And then, you thought you solved it. Everything clicked. Sarah was part of a psychological experiment, one of those off-the-books Cold War leftovers you read about online at 2 a.m. Labeled urban legend, by anyone who still believed in clean time. A memory implantation trial, trauma loop conditioning. They'd run it on kids, isolated environments, subtle conditioning cues. You remember the articles. Asterisk, asterisk, hidden truth behind the classroom experiments. And you're not crazy, they lied to you. Asterisk, asterisk, the theory was simple: trauma could create glitches in memory. And if they could trigger those glitches on command, they could control behavior, suppress violence, even erase unwanted memories completely. But something went wrong. According to one page, Cycle 1 ended with the entire test group experiencing collective amnesia. Cycle 2 was worse, 2 student deaths, both ruled accidental despite identical symptoms, elevated body temperature, blackouts, and complete disappearance of facial recognition in final hours. The children couldn't even identify their parents. Couldn't recognize mirrors and cycle. 3. No records. Just Sarah. That's when you felt it. Like solving a riddle you've been living inside your whole life. Asterisk, Sarah is the echo. The experiment didn't fail. It escaped. Asterisk, you believed it. You needed to. It gave everything a shape. Tyler, Jordan, the missing time, the voices through intercoms, the vanishing reflections, it was all part of the experiment trying to reassert itself. To complete its cycle, you had proof. You had documentation. You had a truth. You even confronted Sarah. You waited near the gym, where the cameras never worked right, where it always smelled like something had just burned, though nothing ever had. You asked her why, how, what she remembered, and she smiled like she pitied you. Not fear, not confusion, not denial, just a quiet, exhausted pity. Then she said something that shouldn't have scared you, but did? Greater than you always think, that's the answer. Until it isn't. You told her about the folder, about the photos, about the recordings. You thought she'd panic. You thought maybe you could break her silence. She didn't even blink. Greater than they. Let you find that, she said, because they need someone to blame when it starts again. And then she walked away, limping, slow, real. You stood there, confused, disappointed, furious, until your phone buzzed. A video, message, unsent, from your own number. You watched it. It showed you in the counselor's office. Not just now but last week. Same folder, same photo. You already opened it. You already knew. You said the same things. Out loud, word for word, and in the background of the video, barely in frame, Sarah was watching you, but her braces were gone. Her stance, perfect. Still, you looked behind you. No one was there, but the air changed. Like something had stopped pretending to be distant. You played the video again. This time, something new happened. The screen froze at frame 1240. Your face, warped, not in some digital glitch, in something else. Recognition, not fear, not confusion, just this dawning horror like you'd seen yourself before. But didn't know where. And behind you, in the mirror's reflections, something watching. Not a face, not a figure, just a presence. You blink. The footage resumes, then cuts to black dot, and for a moment, your mind doesn't know where it is. Whether you're watching or remembering, because it's not the first time. The same thing happened in 2007, a different town, different names. You were younger. The photos from that year are gone, erased from social media, burned in a flood, they said. But one survived. You find it in your mom's storage box. Weeks later, during a blackout that lasted only on your block, the photo shows a birthday party. Yours, kids gathered around cake. One girl in the corner, braces blank expression, not smiling, not aging. You flip the photo. Someone's written in pen. Greater than cycle 2, she doesn't know yet, but you do. Now it's not Sarah, they've been watching, it's you. You weren't. The witness. You are. The variable. You always have been. Every laugh you heard, every time you thought someone was mocking her, every time you looked away when she fell. You weren't an observer, you were part of the pattern. And the reason she's back is because you remembered. But not soon enough, not before they started. The next cycle, which means nothing you've done so far, no evidence, no message, no confrontation, was yours. You were following instructions. And now that you've played your role, the final page appears. Not a file, not a video. Just for words scratched into your desk at home. Your handwriting. But you never wrote them. Greater than you brought it back. The lights go out. The mirror reflects someone who isn't there. And behind your eyes something blinks. Asterisk, asterisk, it was never about Sarah. Asterisk, asterisk. Now start from the beginning. Watch closely. You missed something. They've been watching you for longer than you think. Not just Sarah, not just the teachers who pretended not to notice the disappearing students. Not just the local cops who arrived late, asked no real questions, and filed no formal reports. Others, people who never speak, who never show up in yearbooks, who always seem to be in the background of group photos, their eyes slightly off. Their posture just a little too still, like mannequins trying to remember what it means to be human. They don't talk, but they listen. And now, they're responding. It starts the day after you find the second folder. Not the first, the one with the Sarah files and the grainy photo. But the second one, tucked between library books that haven't been checked. Out since 2003, it's a math textbook, stained and cracked, titled Advanced Quantitative Reasoning. A subject your school never offered. The nameplate inside has your name on it. Not your current one. Not the name you go by now, but a name you only used in 3rd grade. A name your family stopped saying after the accident. There's a message scrawled in the back. Greater than we saw her. 2, 3 simple words, and underneath them a symbol. A looped triangle with a line through the center. You don't recognize it, but your chest tightens. You've drawn it before. You don't remember when. That night, your dreams shift. They're no longer yours alone. You find yourself in a classroom made of glass walls, ceiling, even the floor. No doors, no exit, just desks. Rows and rows. Students with blurred faces, some crying, some mouthing words you can't hear, others staring directly at you, and all of them drawing the same symbol over and over again. In one corner, a girl you don't know her name slides you a note. You wake up holding it. It's real. It smells like graphite and chalk dust and something older like mildew on forgotten paper. The note reads, "Greater than you were right all along." The experiment didn't end. It's moving through us, in the corner, the triangle symbol, now pulsing. Faintly in your vision, long after you look away, you start seeing the symbol everywhere. On the bottom of a cafeteria tray, scratched into the wood of your bus seat, reflected in the static of a classroom TV that's been unplugged for years. You ask around. You whisper to the ones who don't laugh when things go missing, the kids who don't blink when the power goes out, the ones who avoid mirrors like they're afraid of what they'll find. One by one, they reveal pieces. A boy in a wheelchair, who hasn't spoken since he was 6, suddenly, writes a full sentence on the wall beside his bed. She's not the first. A girl who draws the same hallway over and over again, but adds a new door each week, and no one can remember if it ever existed. A janitor who collects yearbook photos of students who were never enrolled, storing them in a drawer labeled Project Residuals, and Fanolia, name the watcher. That's what they call him. The third perspective, not a teacher, not a student, not on any payroll. He's older, but not old, eyes like polished stone. He carries a notebook he never opens, wears a bandage on his left wrist, and when he speaks, you forget what he said. The moment he leaves the room. Several students swear they've seen him walking the halls in years they weren't even born. You find him once, near the old gym. He stops walking before you speak, like he's been waiting. You think you're the main one, he says quietly, but you're just the one they need to believe that. You ask him what Sarah is, what the experiment really was, what they did to all of you. He sighs, and for a second just when his face flickers. Not a glitch, a shift, like he's wearing someone else's expression. Then he says, they didn't create her, they opened her. The way you'd open the door. To something louder. You don't train a prodigy. You survive her. Before you can ask anything else, he turns the corner. You follow, he's gone. You run home. Rip open old notebooks. Flip through forgotten journals. In one, between the pages, a photograph you've never seen before. But you're in it. You're younger. Eyes wide. You're standing in front of a wall of televisions, all tuned to static. Behind you is Sarah, and her eyes are closed. But she's smiling. You're holding a paper with a triangle symbol, and beneath it, your handwriting reads, "Remember this when you wake up." There's a number written in red marker, 12,003. You type it into every search engine. Nothing. You try backwards. Still nothing. Then you think, what if it's not a number? What if it's a asterisk count, a population, a sequence? You go back to the school's digital records. They claim to have 1,317 students, but your counter manual count comes to 1,297. 10 names are missing, and in a hidden folder on the outdated server, you find a compressed zip file titled cycle_12003. Inside are logs, video snippets, audio files dated decades before the school was even built, and in one of them a found footage clip labeled Final Echo Test, Subject 12. It's blurry, but the voice is unmistakable. It's yours. You're crying, screaming, begging. Your teeth are cracked. Your eyes hollowed by something that, isn't grief. It's memory. You're repeating the same words over and over. Greater than they put us in her mind. We never left. We never left. We never left. The clip ends abruptly. A file loads beneath it. A .txt document, one sentence. Greater than Sarah doesn't exist. She's what's left when we forget who we were. And now it's clear. Sarah is the echo. The mirror. The blank space memory builds when it's been overwritten too many times. You never knew her, because she was never a person. She was the collection of every erased child, every failed cycle, every memory that couldn't be contained. She's the backlash, the anomaly, the failsafe when the experiment loses control. And you've been her, at least once. You remember Flash's no-cold tile, screaming kids, hands pulling you from a desk you don't remember sitting in. This isn't about watching anymore, or surviving. It's about deciding. Do you become part of the pattern again, or break it? But before you can make that choice, you receive a message, not a text, not an email. A printout slid under your bedroom door during the night. It says, "We all woke up the same way. You're not alone, but we're running out of time." Greater than look to the windows. They're not watching us from inside anymore. And at the bottom, the triangle. Now filled with black you step toward your bedroom. Mirror, there's no reflection, only static, and a voice behind you, your own, but older, greater than cycle 12,004, initialized than a knock at the door. But you don't live with anyone. Not anymore. It's your move.